to things that are working today. So look at the companies, like I say, in the stock market, the 50 most aggressive and producing companies. Look at around you in your area, in your industry, who is successful, and find the supplementary and synergistic capabilities that you have in order to receive, and then ask more people for help. I was on the phone with a coaching client this morning, and it was funny because she's in this position, and I said, this is the time you should ask for help. She said, well, there's only a few people that can act. No. There's not a few people that can help you. Everyone that can help you. It's an amazing thing. Everyone on average knows about 1,000 people. And if you aren't on the phone all day long, in your emails all day long, and on social media all day long, asking, do you know anyone that can help me? You're making a big mistake. You should be connected to millions of people, and you never know who your gatekeepers are, right? It's one of the lessons that I learn and teach throughout the process, called be kind to your future self. People always ask me, why are you letting that person take advantage of you? Why do you always do things for them? They can never do anything. That's not true. Right? I don't give with any conditions or judgments on it. I give unconditionally. But moreover, everybody is a gatekeeper. Everybody is a gatekeeper to someone and something that you need. It's your job to explore what that is. Here's the interesting thing on the road to revenue. The most important part, most people would say, is our receiving values, right? If we're on a road to revenue, regardless of what your intentions are, whether the money is to you as a victim, for you as a philanthropist, or through you as a humanitarian, whatever your perspective is, one of those three, in a world of not enough, just enough, or hopefully more than enough, a place where more than enough of everything exists for everyone, regardless of your perspective, 99% of the people, if I asked you, would you bankrupt your personal values, your experiential values, your giving values, or receiving values, 99% of you would be bankrupt, right? Because why? Money's a renewable resource. Money is a renewable resource that comes through us with appreciation for others. Money is a powerful construct, a man-made construct of currency and object of energy you put in the flow to get what we want. And if we put out there with attention, intention, and gratitude, you're going to get what you want. And if you shop or ask for the right things, you're going to be happy. And if you shop for the wrong things, you won't. So make sure every day you're taking inventory of at least your values. Now, I also would be taking inventory as much as you can of everything else. Take inventory of the material items you have in your closet. Take care of the garage. Make sure you take inventory of other things, your capabilities, your skills. Take an inventory of your desire every day. Find and set a litmus test, a place, a baseline of how you feel. In order to effectuate feeling better, you need to know how you feel. And unless we're taking a quantitative inventory of how we feel, you're not going to be able to progress or accelerate and expand through that. The second thing to avoid making bad decisions is always consider the long approach, right? I talk about thinking long when you're building a brand. The people that be most successful in this period of time are thinking very long. One of the big advantages of being old, of having more experience, is you have the capability of looking and thinking long, because we've experienced, 93, 97, 2001, and 2008. We've already seen certain things that have been oversold and overbought. We've already seen how not asking for help and not providing value has worked out for us. We've already seen the three different worlds of not enough, just enough, and more than enough when time is compressed into this time of uncertainty. One thing I know is always consider the long approach when you're making a decision. Decisions can be made very quickly when you know your values, but one of the components that I would look at is taking a long approach. When I got involved into the brand game on social media for myself, I had been branding and marketing sports, athletes, events, the world's biggest, for years and years. But when I did it for myself, I took a much longer approach, right? I call it the Noah's Ark approach. Why do I call it the Noah's Ark approach? Well, when the world was at its flooding, what did God do, right? He said, take two, and those two will have two, and those two will have two, and those two. And guess what? By 2020, the world will be filled and overpopulated. That's exactly what will happen in your life. You will be overpopulated with what you want if you take the 2 by 2 by 2 approach. And that's what I did in building my brand. And luckily, it's never been more inexpensive and more productive to build that brand than now. Double down, triple down, quadruple down, whatever you can afford to stay stable. That's what you should be doing, because you can expedite the 2 by 2 by 2 by 2. My first approach of building my brand was very simple. Every year I was going to get 2 ambassadors, 2 people that loved what my quality content was, just 2 in the world. And they loved it. They would tell 2 more every year to love my quality content and convince them and empower them and impact them to watch whatever it is or to feel whatever we were doing. At that rate, in 20 years, it becomes over 2 million people getting 2 million people. The problem is most people don't consider the long. They don't even consider the long. Until you consider the long, I don't think you can connect the dots backwards in order to facilitate what capabilities, what skills, knowledge, and have the necessary desire to get there. The funny thing is, when you take the long approach, it actually clears the connection to make the approach shorter. Those people that take the short approach actually end up taking longer. One thing I know about time and about effectuating what I want to do is that you will get there faster by not attaching your emotions to that outcome. And when you consider the long approach, it's one of the practices that allows you to detach your emotions from the outcome. Now, one of the constructs or reconciliations that's difficult in conflicts that people see is they don't understand, how can you be aggressive, active, have goals, have a vision board, and pursue your potential if you don't attach to an outcome? Well, you can have outcomes, you can have goals, you can have visions. You just don't have to attach your happiness to it. We attach our happiness to the journey. This has been said over and over again and will continue to resonate, and people will forget this lesson. But when you take the long approach, it allows you to enjoy the consistent, everyday, persistent, without quit pursuit of that outcome or your potential or whatever else that you're trying to achieve. The third is to understand the conscious continuum. To avoid making bad decisions, we have to understand the conscious continuum. And that continuum is a continuum that doesn't just rely on making decisions out of money or out of what we think or what we say or what we do or what other people think, say, and do. We can't vote for what other people want for us during these times and vote and make decisions on what other people want for us. We have to understand that not only in the conscious think, say, and do, we have to look and see what sits in our subconscious mind, what disciplines and habits that we're forming and have formed in order to effectuate a subconscious continuum combined with what we want to think, say, and do. We have to understand when we're making a decision that it's based off of a lot of fears that may not be conscious to us. It may seem obvious when we listen to something on the news or read something on the internet, and we think, say, and do something reactive to that, that this is in our best interest. What I'm saying is take an approach understanding subconsciously that you have an ego and you have about 40,000 of the same thoughts that you access every day that are creating habits and disciplines that are formed in neural pathways in your mind. And that what you think, say, and do, what you read, what you see, what you listen to, the people you surround yourself with are every day affecting your future. Your future. So the decisions that you make, if you don't consider the disciplines that you want to have, the habits you want to have, the subconscious thoughts that you want to access, we're not going to make the best and most advantageous decisions. Why? Because those thoughts, those beliefs, aggregated with what you think, say, and do, they actually affect our energy. They affect our unconscious competency. They actually activate parts of our DNA, our genetics that have been handed down 4 generations to us, grandparents, parents, down to us, even if you believe it, past lives. So we want to make sure that we're creating a frequency for ourselves, that we're creating our personality traits, our characteristics, our obsessions and addictions that are going to secure a much more abundant future for us. And so when we make decisions, don't just rely on unstable data because we think, say, and do. See what our beliefs are around this. Be more interested than interesting. See how it makes us feel. Check your energy. See if it elevates and motivates and inspires you, or does it create an interference or corrosion that ends up depressing you? It's so important to understand at a cognitive level this continuum of the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious, because we have some fallacies. I had a guy named Dr. Gleb on one of my podcasts, and he talked about, these fallacies of the mind. One fallacy that exists in the subconscious is called the normalcy bias, right? We think that everything is going to go back to normal. Well, here's some breaking news for you. Tomorrow is never normal. It's just now accelerated. Our normal has accelerated down to sometimes the minute, sometimes the hour before it changes to a new normal. And so we have to understand in our subconscious, in this continuum, that we're relying on a normalcy basis. We have to go ahead and work against that in this continuum when we're making decisions, that this uncertainty that causes anxiety is compressed down to the minute or hour or day. So we have to understand that there is always going to be a new normal, and we want to not only stabilize ourselves for all new normals, but take advantage of the opportunities that exist throughout those new normals. There's also another fallacy in the continuum called the planning fallacy. And Dr. Gleb taught me this, and I love it because one of my favorite sayings is, if you want to make God laugh, come up with a well-developed plan. Somebody asks me all the time, how do you know when you should close your business? Look, even during this time, nobody should be closing their business, right? We're evolving our businesses. We're evolving them and pivoting them. I don't care how big your business is, from General Electric down to a solopreneur. You never close your business, right? You stay in business and you pivot. And you pivot, understanding the planning fallacy is you never can plan. You never can plan. You always have to have at least 3 different options. I always take, the optimistic, the moderate, and the pessimistic approach, right? I know our buddy Gary V, he loves to frame things into like the worst case scenario, and that makes him feel good. I like to frame things without time, right? I ask myself, in order to find more faith, to clear the connection to the most powerful source of light, love, and energy, I like to extract time when I frame it. And so if I'm going to take the ultimate optimistic approach, the faithful approach in this planning fallacy, when I make a plan under my optimism, I take out time and I say, what if there was no time? What if I had a billion lifetimes to figure this out? What would I do? Then I go ahead and take a moderate approach and see what I would do. And that starts blending in more of the lower frequency, the monetary responsibilities of having a family and mortgages and a business and employees and all the different things. And then I actually go down to the pessimistic side and I frame things out and say, what if this was the last day of my life? What if this was it? And I go ahead and frame it there. And that way I can break through in the conscious continuum of the planning fallacy. And I can go ahead and direct myself with the blend of the pragmatic to the ethereal, the blend of a conscious quantum physics, way out there approach that's completely optimistic, that we're all being pushed to something bigger, greater, and happier, all the way down to a pessimistic approach. Is this my last day? Am I living my life as if this was my last day, and learning the lessons as if I live forever? That's kind of the blend that I use to understand at a cognitive level the conscious continuum. Fourth, contemplate the scenarios. Be more interested than interesting. Get mentorship. So when we're making a decision, why make a decision that someone else has already made and seen the results from? You're better off, instead of taking the time to make the decision, to find somebody that's already made that decision and knows the results, right? Here's what we know about history. Human nature never changes. Throughout history, if you're not right now studying history for a minimum of 10 minutes a day, you're missing out. You're missing out, right? earthly disasters, right? All these different things that you should be studying, from the bubonic plague to polio to all the different things that have existed from the beginning of the time, the 12 plagues of Israel. Look, Passover is coming up. You might as well study Passover. Look, I am serious. Why? Because human nature never changes. And if you want to stabilize during one of these periods, or you want to take advantage of opportunities, you should be studying history, because this shit has happened before. It's happened before, and humans have acted and reacted to it before. So you need to find mentors that have worked and lived through these different periods of time. Viktor Frankl, read Viktor Frankl, right? Someone who's lived through the meaning of life and how to keep a mindset that's incredibly strong and optimistic and opportunist in the most dire of circumstances. There's a variety of people throughout history, a variety of texts throughout history. If you can't find any, just go online and look at any religious text. It's a great place to talk about the things that we're going through. Whether you believe the facts, the stories, the lessons, right? That's what we're looking for, is human nature. Life is about these lessons. Like I said before, I live each day in a blend of, if I wasn't going to be able to live tomorrow, I always think of it when I wake up in the morning, so grateful that my bank card is full, but I'm not guaranteed I'm gonna have anything left in the bank machine tomorrow. So what are the two things I do? I do my best to blend my pragmatic world with this faithful world and live today the best that I can. Carpe diem, seize the day, be as productive, accessible, and gracious as possible. But I also live my life learning lessons as if I'm going to live forever. And so these are one of the periods of time that you can create that pragmatic practice and contemplate a variety of scenarios with mentorship. People have lived through these types of things before, and type of mentorship studying history. So go to it, find out. Last but not least, the AAA strategy. No better time to institute the AAA strategy in your life. Number one, understanding these first four principles of how to make great decisions to avoid disastrous ones, how to have a correct road to revenue. You need to, number one, get alignment. You need to get alignment with those values that we started with. You need to get alignment with the people that you work with. You need to rely on stable data. The better you can become aligned, the better you can act. Now, my philosophy in life is that you only get one action a day. So when you start your day, start at the highest frequency, make that action the highest frequency you can, the most positive place, the truth to vibrate at during the day. So you have a point of reference or a litmus test or a baseline, so that you know when you're not at your best self, your higher self, the point in which you want to expand and accelerate from, not to. And so what we want to do is make sure that we rely on alignment to take that first action, because everything after that's going to be a reaction. Remember, you only get one action in the day. Everything after that is a reaction. And most likely we're going to react back up to our higher potential and try to expand and accelerate beyond. The one thing that we have to do is prepare for adjustment, especially during the time when uncertainty is compressed. And it is. Uncertainty is compressed. Uncertainty is the cause of this ego-based emotion: anxiety, fear, anger, frustration, resentment, offense, separation, inferiority, superiority, this great need that everyone has in holding grievances for what's going on and spiraling in the wrong or accelerating in the wrong trajectory. We have to prepare for adjustments. We have to prepare only one thing for adjustment, and that's our mindset. We have to get uncomfortable being uncomfortable. I'm sorry, we have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. We have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. We have to learn to love what we're doing. We have to learn to find the light, find the love, and find the lessons in everything that we're doing. This is a practice. It's not going to happen overnight. It's like telling somebody that's depressed, oh, just look at the glass half full. Doesn't work, right? But what does work is to say, hey, we're on a journey together. We're connected to the greatest source of energy, light, and love that has ever existed. It carries so much power that it lights up an entire city with just what is stored in my thumb. And I want to practice sucking the energy out of that. I want to practice clearing my connection to that. I want to practice so that I'm consistently feeling that inspiration. I'm in spirit the entire time. Then the second practice, right? That's alignment. Then the second practice is let me take action by appreciating that energy, appreciating that spirit, appreciating that mindset by adding value to it. Let me put that down into a more pragmatic way. So many people right now are like, Dave, I'm out of a job. I'm not getting paid. I'm losing my house. I'm losing my business. And the list goes on and on and on and on. And they're sitting at home and they're quarantined. And they're like, what should I do? I'll tell you what, the first thing you should do is go help somebody, right? Go ahead and help someone. Show the inspiration and appreciation that you're built into. Because what we do is we suck when we're making a withdrawal every time we help somebody, right? It clears that connection. We're withdrawing the energy and the source of the light, and we show an appreciation, living in a world of more than enough, knowing that we have everything we need, and we wouldn't be here if we didn't have everything we need. But when we give it away, we're able to clear that connection and feel unified, feel the sanctity of that inspiration by allowing it to come through us for others. So if you're in a place of depression, anxiety, fear, frustration, offense, guilt, anger, whatever it is, don't hold those grievances. Make room for what you want. Simply take the action to clear that connection and do something for somebody else. Go ahead, be kind to your future self, clear the connections to all of that, prepare for the adjustments by being kind, allow yourself to make room for what you want. Remember, all of these things that are happening, you have a very simple decision to make. Is it pushing me to something better, or is it pushing me to something worse? Now, there's no proof either way. I'm not going to sit on here for the next half hour when I should be answering questions from you to tell you that I can prove to you it's pushing you to something better. But what I can prove to you is that it's the better choice to think that. It's the better mindset to have. Because whether you think it does or it doesn't, either way, you're right. I know that power of projection of how powerful my mindset is. And if you change your mindset, you'll change your life. And there's a reason for that, down to quantum physics, that if you look at something differently, the thing you look at changes. And that's proven. And that's why we study the calendar. That's why we do things now. That's why we are attentive and take inventory in our values. All of these different things are just a practice. It's a practice of perception. It's a practice of understanding that I see nothing, but I give every meaning to what I see. What does that mean? Most people think that we're sharing some sort of vision, that we see the same things. No, we may share a collective consciousness that can identify an object in which we base off of some context of history, of our own history or other history or some other context. But in actuality, the true projection of our life is our mindset, because we are actually projecting out through our eyes a meaning that we see. So if you're looking at this training, some of you would sit there and say, oh my God, this is the most remarkable training I've ever been to. It's life-shattering, life-changing. It's helped me so much. And other you might say, this sucks. And it's fine. Right? That's, you give the meaning to what you see. And we're going to give meaning to everything that we see here in the future. And if you make the conscious decision to practice seeing things with light, love, and lessons in it, I promise you one thing, you'll be better off than the people that don't. Think about it. You'll be better off than the people that don't. That is mathematically and quantum metaphysics proven. It's a technology, right? It's a technology. And so many people get caught into the darkness, the particles of expansiveness of this unknown uncertainty. Not me. Not me. I just think, wow, one particle of light overcomes a million particles of darkness. You you test this out. Go into a really dark room, light a match. Light a match. Here's the other cool thing about light. I always tell this candle example because I love it so much, and talk about alignment, action, and adjustment. I look at my life like a candle, and I have a light, and if I just stand still and I have no action, no activity, if I stand still with my light without sharing it with anyone, my candle is going to burn and burn and burn and burn faster and faster and faster. But here's the cool thing about a candle and light. If I share my light, If I take the most contagious disease of all time, happiness, the one that can be shared by just witnessing it, the one that strengthens our immune system, the one that is extremely viral that you don't even have to see it live, you can see it recorded from thousands of years ago. You could actually read about happiness and it'd make you happy. An incredible virus. But if I take my light, my happiness, my love, my lessons, and I share it with you, not only do I light you up, but my candle stops burning. If I could just light people up all day, in physics, the candle will never burn. I'm just using my light to light other people's light and to teach them to light up other people. When I came up with this crazy idea that I can light over 1 billion people on earth to be happy, it was because of the candle. I realized that I could impact 1,000 people in my lifetime, to impact 1,000 people, to impact 1,000 people. It's that simple. And that's the approach and mindset that we have to take today. We have to start looking at these opportunities and look at the opportunity to stabilize what we're doing. Even those people that feel like they're stable in certain parts of their lives, I promise you, there's other areas that you're learning, right? Because this is exposing holes, it's exposing weaknesses, places where we can move those weaknesses to different places to make them strengths, and then share our strengths with others to strengthen their weaknesses. All right. We hit the 30-minute mark. Now let's get some real stuff. Let's go ahead and take some questions here. I appreciate everybody. Let's put them in here. Going to go ahead. How to maintain daily discipline. Hold on a second. They're moving my questions now. All right. How to maintain daily discipline and focus in your practice, moving past distractions and comfort. Okay. I'm sure a lot of you feel like you have a lot of distractions. It's funny because one of the biggest comments from my team, and we're all working remotely. I work in a closet, for goodness sake. I'm the first man to move into the closet, but I'm in the closet. And working in a closet, I have less distractions than ever. And my team keeps commenting to me that they have far less distractions. They may have to learn how to utilize the capabilities of their homes in order to effectuate the productivity and accessibility and gratitude that they want, but they have less distractions. So I think when you look at distractions, see what's distracting you. I would go ahead and take inventory of distractions because I'd want to go ahead and attack those each day. So for example, if you have children and that becomes a distraction, then create a plan to overcome that distraction. Remember, you talked about discipline and working through that. Disciplines are created through practice. Disciplines are created through the input of data every day. We got about 10,000 new inputs a day. And then you have the 40,000 of the same thoughts that you have every day that you access. And that's what creates the habits that we have, the disciplines that we have. So we want to control that input. The first lesson of controlling that at home with distractions is understanding the inaccuracy of the data, because the data comes from two places. One, our senses, touch, smell, sight, hear, taste, and then also our memories. So what we want to do is take inventory of those distractions and then create a plan so that we're not distracted. One of the best tools, though, is not to steer at the distraction when you find out what it is. It's to see the path beyond it, to see the path beyond the distraction. So take yourself and start enjoying the consistent, persistent pursuit of your potential, not the consistent, persistent pursuit of your distraction, right? If we keep our eyes on the distraction, we're going to manifest more of this distraction. The same thing holds true on grievances with others. I was on the phone last night with one of my employees. Nobody cares about our business more than this person. And, I had an incredible conversation and, constructively focusing in on the superpowers of every single one of our teammates, right? We started to constructively look at the superpower of all of our teammates, not, hey, this didn't get done today. This was this, right? Because I promise you, if you look for the inadequacies and inefficiencies of anyone, you are going to find them. They're going to find you so fast, and that's, why, building a brand is so important in building your own experience and community. Because when people come on this training, I'm blessed because they're looking for the superpowers that Dave Meltzer can share. They're not looking for the deficiencies, the inadequacies, the hypocrisies that are here. Trust me, we can go through a session for 5 minutes and you want to go ahead and, put your comments in and say, hey, you're short, you got a big nose, you're not very funny, you're not very smart, you don't know anything about coding, there's a whole long list of about a billion things you can find of how inaccurate and inefficient and my inadequacies. But don't look for them. Let's look for the superpowers in everybody. Let's look for the superpowers in the situation. In other words, let's look for the light, the love, and the lessons and make it a practice so that these disciplines and distractions don't even exist. We are more productive, more accessible, and more grateful than ever. You got that? What's productivity? It's the value that you provide. What's accessibility? I'm more accessible to people now than I've ever been, and I'm accessing more of what I want than I ever have. And what's gratitude? Is perspective. It makes my past better, my present even better than that, and my future brighter. It is the lens that I use. All right, let's get to the next question. All right, you're gonna keep it still there. All right, Alex Maynard, go back to Alex Maynard so I could read that. Hopefully we get back there. Is it just impossible to hold still? There's so many questions here. Let me see. All right. What is the first step to finding your purpose on this earth? How can you know if your current career choice is your purpose? Oh, I love this question. Okay. Everybody, let me tell you your purpose. Your purpose is to help. Your purpose is to do good deeds. Your purpose is to help something or someone. That's your purpose. Surprise, everybody knows their why now. So what is our purpose on earth? Is to provide as much value as we can to others, to do as many good deeds as we can for others. And how can you know if your current choice is your purpose? It is. You just have to find it. Learn to love what you do. Learn to find the light, the love, and the lessons in everything you do. Learn how what you're doing helps people. Focusing on the superpowers of what you're doing. I don't care what it is. And this is the one my wife always kills me with, right? You're just lucky because you've always loved what you do. No. I've learned to love what I do. No, some of the stuff I get to do, it's one of the advantages of being a sports agent for years is it's one of those jobs that 10% of it is extraordinary. Probably like playing sports. I've witnessed my business partners, my friends, my associates play in the Super Bowl, right? I was CJ Anderson, one of my closest friends, business associates, was playing in the Super Bowl. And 10% of it was given what he was just inherently loves. That everybody on earth would have loved 10% of what he was doing those 2 weeks. 90%, he had to learn to love. Right? Learn to love the pressure of, pregnant wife, having to go here, my family coming in town, millions of people asking me to do stuff, feeling like you're letting them down, the money pressures, re-signing, but I'll go on and on and on. In some ways, the guys who just came over here to pick up the trash, they got a lot more to be grateful for. They have a lot more to be passionate, to purposeful about. So what I'm trying to tell you is your purpose is given. You have to convince yourself that you're here to help other people, that you're here to provide value. And then you can figure out, what do I want to do in order to do that? And part of helping other people, though, this is where I might differ from a lot of the humanitarians and philanthropic people. This is where my book with Blaine Bartlett, the guy who wrote it, and I get to contribute, and then he gave me half credit for it. But where it came from is receiving. My motto in life still is make a lot of money to help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. You got to understand that when I talk about helping other people, inherent is everything's coming through me for you. Everything's coming through me. So I need to know how to receive. If I haven't been able to clear the connection to the unbelievable powerful source of everything, of abundance, if I'm not receiving that, I can only give you what I have. So if you're not working on the skills, the knowledge, and desire in order to receive, you're not going to be able to have a purpose, no matter what the career is. And so look at the career, not for the purpose, but look for the purpose in the career, where you are. If you're 22 years old, don't think you can be in the same position as somebody that's been in that career for 30 years. Don't even think it. But I'll tell you what things that you can have that are equivalent or greater than the person that's been in that career for 32 years or 30 years is finding your purpose, finding the love, light, and lessons of being 22 and starting at the lowest level in a corporate bureaucracy, the lowest level of experience, the lower level of situational knowledge, and enjoying it and pursuing where you want to be. It doesn't matter. It's you and your purpose. All right, Steve Jobs question. Oh, where is that at? What does it look like physically to wake up with the highest possible vibration? Thank you, Ben. This is a good one. So I believe happiness is the most viral disease. I believe happiness is the ultimate purpose of my life, is to share happiness, to light your candle with my candle, to impact others, to impact others, to impact others. Physically, what that looks like to wake up at the highest vibration is whatever makes you happy. So finding that place where you're the most happiness, because when you're happy, that means you're at your highest vibration. You have the highest awareness, you're in the flow, you're allowing things to come through you for others. There is a physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual continuum, a complete feeling of happiness. So what do you do in order to find that in the beginning of your day? Find out what you love that makes you feel good. Some people, it's meditation, right? I've been practicing meditation for 13 years. And that's how I find my highest frequency, my point of reference, my baseline for the day. But there was times where it was exercise, right? And that's why I moved to the secondary. I go from meditation right into exercise, because for me, that's the second point. But for other people, it may be reading or listening to a podcast or spending time with your kids or making breakfast or cooking, cleaning, having a coffee and reading. There's a million different things. Keep on practicing things that make you feel good and continue trying to feel better. And then use that as a baseline for the rest of the day. I call it stop, drop, and roll. When I don't feel like I felt at the beginning of the day, I try my best in complete hypocrisy to stop, drop my emotions back down, right? Clear that connection, drop it on down and say to myself, why do I feel this way? I don't feel the same way I felt this morning. Why do I feel this way? And go ahead and take the time to process why you feel that way. And usually what helps me is to identify one of the ego-based emotions: the need to be right, the need to be offended, the need to be separate, inferior, superior, anxious, frustrated, angry. What's happening, there's, this collective consciousness of fear and anxiety is pushing people really quickly to have grievances and attacking thoughts. Okay, so we have to be hyper conscious of how quickly we can get back to center. I have found myself projecting my own insecurities more than usual. And I have to ask myself, why do you feel that way? Why is it upsetting to you that that person is doing that, right? How can we constructively identify and articulate the purpose of getting better as a group or as a family or as a community? Let's not project your insecurities and create more interference, more corrosion, more anxiety, more fear. All right, perfect. Next question. All right, it's moving fast. Sorry. Oops, holy lamoly. I don't know if I can control this. Oh, I can. Hey, there we go. Awesome. What is your opinion on rest/burnout? Oh, great question, Alex. So I don't believe in, I know you're gonna think this is weird. I don't believe in burnout, right? I believe you take a vacation every day. I believe in the consistent, persistent pursuit of your potential, including vacation, right? 2 minutes a day is worth more than 2 hours on a weekend. I live my life trying to clear the connection to that which inspires me. So if you're consistently working on that and practicing that, there should be no burnout, just acceleration and growth. Sleep will allow your body to rest. Sleep will allow your body to rest. But if you are practicing getting back to center and living your life at a higher frequency without the corrosion and interference, you'll never burn out, right? I don't believe in work. right? Work is a resistance. Work is a void, shortage, and obstacle to what we want. I got to work to do that. No, no, no. I believe in activity we get paid for, and activity we don't get paid for. And I try to make the activity I get paid for conducive to making the most that I can by helping the most people I can and having the most fun that I can by looking for the light, love, and lessons in everything and how to monetize it, right? I'm very pragmatic about it. How do I monetize that? How do I connect the dots backwards? This is the road to revenue, right? We got to figure out what capabilities, skills, knowledge, and desire we have that are aligned with what's making money right now. I got a great story. I wear my NASA jacket. I did an interview with a rocket scientist, and he wrote a book called it's coming out like in mid-April, How to Think Like a Rocket Scientist. And he was one of the rocket scientists that was involved in putting the lunar module up onto Mars. And they were racing, with Russia, I think, to get it up onto Mars. And Russia got there first, and they went and they landed, and their landing gear, which was the same as the one that the United States was using, didn't work, and the whole thing exploded. It's 2 years. That's as fast as they can get those millions of miles to Mars, whatever. It's 2 years for each mission. Everybody's now trying to figure out, how do we fix the landing gear? How do we do this? How do we do that? And one of the rocket scientists, he thinks, what if we sent 2 up there? Didn't take rocket science, right? It took innovation, creativity. It took a second to take a step back and change the whole face of our program, because they ended up, although there was an initial expense that was a little bit greater, sending 2 up there, and those lunar programs are only supposed to last 90 days. It lasted 14 years. 14 years. So let's everybody out there utilize this time. You're not going to burn out. You're going to accelerate and grow. You're going to study your sleep to make sure that you physically are rested, but you're going to utilize your day to practice not getting emotionally exhausted, spiritually exhausted, right? The sleep, it's to clean the connection and accelerate and grow while your body is resting. Our bodies can only take so much, right? It's proven. It has to recover. This is why we eat and go to the bathroom and sleep. And when you study that and practice that, we then can, while we sleep, accelerate our growth with the subconscious and unconscious mind that are completely connected to all of the different powers and sources of lessons and light and love. So we wake up at a higher frequency than when we went to bed, not a lower one. If any of you are waking up exhausted, not physically exhausted, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually exhausted, then you have not cleared that connection. You have not practiced during the day, clearing and practicing getting to a higher frequency. You're allowing, the analogy that I use, and most people live their life this way. When people think about rest and burnout, what happens is they start the day at the highest frequency, like a car sitting on top of a hill in San Francisco. Now, what I do is when my car starts going downhill, all it takes is one finger, right? One finger to hold the car or push it right back up. But what I used to do is I'd let that car go downhill, all the way downhill. And then at the end of the day, I was run over. And then I went to bed because I felt run over. I felt burnout. And guess what? I started the day down here, and that was my new hill. Because if I just got in the practice of keep pushing my car back uphill, the problem with the ego is not only does it create interference and corrosion and voids and shortages and obstacles in our life, but it also accelerates us in the wrong direction, just like a car going down the hill. And at the end of the day, it's impossible for it to stop. All right, let's go to the next question. Denny, how do you face someone who always seems dishonest? Everything they said always feels it's not what they really meant. Unfortunately, they're one of the closest persons in your circle. First of all, we never know the truth about what somebody else is feeling. People are either honest or dishonest. They may have good intentions to be dishonest, but that's what gets confusing. And there are always people that are in our inner circles, especially now that we're quarantined with each other, that may be more negative or more dishonest or just not along the journey that you're on. There's 2 things that you need to do. And this is a life lesson far beyond this period of time. Number 1, understand them. You'll never change them. Understand them. And Ask them, why do you feel this way? Why is that? Go ahead and ask them why. Try to understand where they're coming from and why. That will unite you. And if you still have, yeah, interference or corrosion in the relationship, if you feel like they're still dishonest or they don't want to communicate why, then there's only one thing left to do: pray for their happiness. Stop wasting your energy. Stop giving it energy. Stop creating more void, shortages, and obstacles. Attacking thoughts and grievances get more attacking thoughts and grievances. If you pray for your happiness, the light will overcome the darkness. There's no grievances or attacks that can live in that light of happiness. Pray for their happiness, because if they were happy, they would not hurt others. They would not attack others. They would not hold grievances. Happiness cannot exist in there. If they are happy, they wouldn't be doing that. Happy people don't need to lie. It was interesting. I do business with a lot of different people, and in there is a spectrum of people that are judgmental. They put conditions and judgments on so many different things, and a lot of people ask me, why do you do business with that person? They are this or that or whatever. Number one, everyone has snapshots, right? And you may have had a snapshot of a person when they have been dishonest or not at their best. And the other person had a snapshot when they were at their best. So one, I try not to put those conditions or judgments, but I look for the superpowers in everyone. Most importantly, though, I look within and I ask myself, when have I been that way? One of the problems I had at a young age is that I wanted people to think better of me. I wanted everyone to love me. And so, although to the outside world, I may have achieved a lot right out of law school monetarily and had all these things, I was not secure in any of it. So I would exaggerate and embellish, manipulate, oversell, back end sell. I was fighting for people to love me. And if I just was comfortable with who I was and my frequency, and I see so many people, especially now that I'm doing business with, they're extraordinary people. And guess what? Everybody knows it except for the most important person, them. Right? Honestly, they're the only ones that don't know it. And I know what that feels like because I was that person. And sometimes I still am that person. Everybody knows how awesome you are. Everybody knows how great you are, right? You need to love you. And if you love you, you can pass that love to other people as well. All right, let's take some more questions here. What are you doing for vacation during this time? Thank you, Matt. I vacation every day. So this is no difference for me. It's amazing how much stability you have when you're in the consistent, persistent pursuit of your potential. Think about what I'm saying. It's amazing how stable you are when you do things every day, right? When you have a set routine and an adaptable routine, it's amazing how stable you are. I take vacation every day, and so should you. Abraham Links, people are doing, how do you make a genuine human connection to close a deal? Oh, all right. Good question. People bound emotion for logical reasons. So 5-step process to make a genuine human connection. Number one, you got to stimulate interest. You got to make yourself equal. All right. You got to connect. And we do that emotionally. Look people in the eye, smile at them if you can, dial to them if you can. You got to ask one simple question to get an emotional connection. That's, what do you like? What do you like? What don't you like? Right? If you can get to a point where you're asking someone, how are you? What are you doing? What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? You're going to have a human connection that will help you close the deal. But it won't close the deal unless you have a few other things. So number one, you got to have credibility. 2, that emotional attachment. 3, you need to quantify the reasons, impacts, and capabilities of what you're asking for to close the deal. In the end, you need to have a math decision. If you don't have a math proof of, look, if you give me $20, I'm sure, and so are you, you're going to make 100 from it. That's the belief. That's the math that needs to be done. Otherwise, you're overselling, back-end selling, manipulating, lying, or cheating to the person. That's why credibility is the most important thing in a human connection, because if you're 100% credible, you don't have to sell. I could tell everyone now, if I was 100% credible, I could tell everyone now, go ahead, Wire me $1 million. I promise you at the end of the month, I'll wire you back 2 million. Now, nobody reaches that credibility of truth, but you should always be working towards that credibility. Every time you do something to diminish your credibility, over exaggerate, project your insecurities, lie, manipulate, cheat, because, with good intent, some people will lie, cheat, oversell, back end sell when the person's not understanding the value that they're providing, and then justify it as being in integrity, because in the end, they're sure that that person doesn't understand that they're getting $100 of value for 20. Let me repeat that, because that's a very important point. What people do is that, let's say that I have a business deal that I'm sure, and all of us have been here, that I have a business deal that I'm sure if you give me $20, you will make $100 from. And I'm not capable of articulating that, because either there's a obstruction or resistance with time or emotion or an understanding of the value. Those are the three things that happen. Why, when I'm 100% sure that you don't get that I got a great deal, a guaranteed deal for you, why it won't happen. I guarantee everything I do. And some people tell me, look, I guarantee profitability month to month, everything I do. When I'm even my coaching, I tell people, let me do a free assessment. And at the end of the assessment, I'll tell someone, look, it's $5,000 to do this for you, but I guarantee you're going to make more than that. And if not, I'll give you back your $5,000 for that month, right? Month to month. And some people will say, no, I can't do it. Why? Because I'm not 100% credible. Because who would do that? Like, who would? Why? Well, here's what happens. When you get into that situation, you tend to lie, cheat, manipulate, oversell, and back end sell with good intention, because you're sure the person doesn't get what you're talking about, right? And people do that all the time. My own employees do that to me, right? With good intention, it's like, yeah, no, I get that part, but you don't have to do that. Let's explore and understand, what don't you get, so that you can agree or align with my math, and I can hold the credibility and the emotional attachment that's necessary to do that. All right, perfect. Great questions, by the way. We'll go down. How much work have you done with retired veterans transitioning into the workforce? Andre, I've done a ton. And the reason is, I started with transitioning athletes into the workforce. And what I found the similarities between athletes and vets is that they both suffer 2 deaths, right? They're so disciplined and routine oriented that when those careers end, that it's like a death. And the transition is very difficult to do. And it's because they haven't really discovered where the skills, the knowledge, and the desire are aligned with the future. They forgot the value of the capabilities of those things that they have. What I think, and I love hiring and helping and transitioning vets and athletes, because they're very similar, because they have an extraordinary skill set. They have extraordinary knowledge, and they have the one common denominator of success, that they must be what they can be. That's the one common denominator of success. Those people that must be what they can be, right? I learned this in Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. Those people that have a burning desire, I call it the must be what they can be, they're going to be successful. And they're going to develop and take the skills that they have and develop more that are aligned with their new profession or career. They're going to be humble enough to ask for help, all the different things that we use in transitioning. All right, we got time for one more question. Do you believe high standards yield elite outcomes? I think they're mutually exclusive. I believe that having high standards will contribute to what you want. Doesn't mean necessarily they're elite outcomes is what you want. I think more than high standards is consistent, persistent standards. I believe in evolution, not revolution. I believe that those outcomes are not attached to standards. The outcomes that you have are attached to the aggregate, the blend of the currencies, but the aggregate of what you think, say, do, and believe, and the quantum potential that you have, your personality traits, characteristics, obsessions, and addictions, the energy you carry, the frequency that you have, the strength of your signal, the spectrum of your signal, and the clarity of your message. But I think that if you're consistent and persistent with high standards, that you will reach the potential outcome, the potential outcome that you have. So, for example, if I have high standards for my basketball career, my outcome will not be an elite outcome. It'll be probably at best, a starting guard on the Jewish Community Center's over 50 league basketball team at best, because that's where my potential will lead me in consistent, persistent behavior. But that's not an elite outcome. And so I think understanding our potential, and it doesn't matter. Look, if that's what I enjoy, it won't matter that that's my outcome, right? Because that's my potential. Just like the fact that one of my greatest loves of my life and achievements of my life and successes and passion, purpose, and profitabilities of my life, to me, is I was an average Division III football player, right? I was an average division, but I enjoyed the consistent, persistent pursuit of that. And to me, I had very high standards of what I was going to do athletically, academically, health-wise, all the focus, all the things that I developed, the skills, the knowledge. And of course, mainly what happened was I had a keen desire to be what I can be. Unfortunately, that's all I could be. And it wasn't elite. So I think don't connect the two, but learn the lesson of consistent, persistent behavior. All right, that's it, everyone. Make sure you join our text community so you're notified of this. We're going to have another training next Friday. We're going live every day. So join us on Instagram and LinkedIn. Please, we have a lot going on. If you need help, ask a series of questions of how we can be of service or who we know that can help you. My email is david@dmeltzer.com. Please be patient. I am answering everyone myself. I'm fortunate. I don't got anywhere to go. And I love helping people. So give me the opportunity to do so. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy, be safe, and be kind to your future self. Spread the virus of happiness.